welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, precisionhydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by foodsell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Use the code FREEPOST for free delivery worldwide. Check it out at foodsell.co.uk.
And we're also brought to you by teamoxygenaddict.com triathlon coaching.
Helping hundreds of age group triathletes see huge improvements in their 70.3 and Ironman performances. The time training system makes sure you get the important training done each week in a way that complements the rest of your life.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. We have got a super duper stonker of a show today, haven't we, Hells?
We've got an interview with two-time world champion Patrick Lange coming up. We were going to chat about Ironman Ireland with Ali Brownlee securing his Kona slot. Holly Lawrence wins another regional championship. And then I think we can chat about my crazy weekend as well.
How did Helen get on? That's what the world really wants to hear, Hells. What an amazing weekend of racing. Even putting you aside, it's an amazing weekend of racing.
Oh, very much put me aside. There's been so much going on, hasn't there?
Yeah, I've got to say, Hells, hats off if you're listening to this and you even got to the start line of Ironman Cork this weekend. Hats off to you, because it looked like the most hideous day of the year, bar none, to try and do anything bike or run based. It was cold, it was hammering down, it was howling with wind. I was cold and wet just looking at the footage online. So if you got yourself to the start line of that, fair play to you. I think I'd have not had the whats to get on the start line, Hells.
It looked like Wales 2 years ago, but even worse.
Yeah,
Wales 2 years ago was dreadful.
I know.
Make it worse, and that was the weather conditions that faced everyone at Ironman Ireland, where temperatures had dropped to 14 degrees, so just under 60 Fahrenheit, and this storm just sort of brewed. But in the days leading up to it, they had clear blue skies. It just looked gorgeous, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be such a stunning race. Nia Davis, who I think is a listener to the show, said that she did it. Correct decision about the swim. They can't help the weather. She said sunshine yesterday and tomorrow, but she said the town have embraced it massively and the crowds were out in force despite the weather.
It's one of the big challenges, isn't it, of organising a race with a sea swim, especially in Ireland, where I spent a lot of summers over in Ireland as a windsurfer, and you could literally go in the space of a few hours from a beautiful, calm, sunny day, where as a windsurfer you were just super frustrated, to blowing a hoolie and zooming around on your smallest kit. And they got absolutely that hideous condition, really horrible on shores. There's no way you could have swum in that. It would have been just an absolute nightmare. But I think the only thing worse than the kind of day you had at Ironman Wales, Hells, where you have to swim in hideous choppy conditions, is not getting to swim in hideous choppy conditions and having to stand around for up to a couple of an hour with like a time trial start. They had cameras on the start line of people lined up, and it just looked awful for the poor people waiting. Everyone had every single layer they had with them on, and people were shivering and cold and freezing. And I know there's nothing that the organisers can do in those kind of conditions, but It's the worst start to your day to have to stand around in a corral waiting and freezing your nuts off, isn't it?
Just the nerves, thinking, oh, when am I going to be going? And then if you're like me and I get very cold very easily, I just don't. I probably would have really, really struggled to get warm.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people won't have even managed to get themselves over the start line because they got so cold waiting in that. And 14 degrees doesn't sound that cold, but combined with
it does.
Like driving rain, visibility of 100 meters, like the clouds down at pretty much at road level, Yeah, it was beastly to even watch. So hats off to you if you raced there and you managed to get yourself even to the start line. Shout out to a couple of Team Oxygenaddict athletes who managed to get themselves even to the finish line. Paul Fitzsimmons and Stephen McGloin. Well done, guys. Absolutely smashed it. And I'll tell you what, Hals, I was watching the feed and thinking, and the following the bikes coming into corners, and you're watching the pros sitting up tentatively out of the aero bars coming into a corner, water standing on the road, and you're thinking, oh, what's that going to be like for the age groupers later on in groups of them coming through? A horror show.
Oh. Yeah. I saw one clip of someone, well, they had the really, really steep 21% hill, didn't they? And I did see a clip of quite a few people pushing their bikes up there, but one guy like going for it off his bike, but running up it, pushing his bike.
Yeah.
It just looked.
Well, there were literally hundreds of people when they had the camera sitting on, it's called Windmill Hill, wasn't it?
Mm.
Literally half the field must have pushed the bikes up it. It wasn't just one or two people. I've never seen carnage like it. And even my mind's gone blank. Who's the American pro who was racing? Was it Lindsay Corbin?
Yep.
Lindsay Corbin came through in second place, and she was pushing her bike.
Really?
Yeah, she either had come off or had to stop, and she walked by the camera. And at that point, I actually I took a photo of it as a screenshot and sent it to my friend and said, "That's Lindsay Corbin walking up the hill." So, like, if anyone's had to get up and walk up that hill, don't feel bad about it. If Lindsay Corbin's walking up the hill as well, it's horror show. I just think people didn't get any traction on the road with it being so wet and so steep.
Oh my god!
It's hard enough at one in five getting up it, even when it's dry, isn't it?
Yeah. The worst thing is when your wheel just starts. You're trying to put, and it just it just won't get any grip, and so that's such a horrible feeling.
There was a manhole cover in the road that people were riding over, and the wheels were slipping, and people kept coming off at the same point.
Oh, don't!
Hats off! One of the spectators disappeared and came back with a big traffic cone and kind of put it down a metre out into the road. So whoever you were, good thinking. Saved a lot of people getting off and having to walk, I think. All right, so let's jump in and let's talk about the results in full, and sponsored by our friends over at precisionhydration.com. You might not think that you need to take care of your electrolytes so much on a cold, wet and windy day, but remember, it's not just the hot conditions that have you needing to take care of your electrolytes. You need to take care of electrolytes because that's what's going to keep your muscles contracting and relaxing no matter how long the exercise is going for. So if you haven't tried, get over to precisionhydration.com and take their free online sweat test. That involves you answering a bunch of questions, and it'll give you a lead as to whether you are a particularly heavy or a particularly salty sweater. And if you are, you can easily take care of your electrolyte needs they have different sachets of different strengths you can stick into your water bottle. Almost tasteless, certainly not the hideous salty drinks that you used to experience when you were younger, where you gagged trying to get the salty drinks down. Even their 1,500 milligrams super salty one does not taste salty. So head over and check it out at precisionhydration.com, and using the code Oxygenaddict, you can get a free box or tube worth up to $9.99. All right then, so let's kick off by talking about the overall pros race at Ironman Cork. I think the big news was obviously Ali Brownlee stepping up to race his first Ironman. I think he's going to be a bit gutted that the swim was cancelled, to be honest.
Well, it made it for an even more challenging day, I reckon, because he would have come out of the swim with a big buffer, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But because they turned it into a duathlon, and Brian McChrystal, Uber biker, was on that start line, he went for it. Absolutely,
he was a man on a mission, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he had a massive lead. So he had like nearly 17 minutes.
That's right, yeah. I think it was actually 12. I think there was a stagger because of the time trial start. I think it was reported as 17, but it was actually only 12 that he came off the bike in front of Ali Brownlee in terms of race time, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, that. And so then Brownlee had work to do on the run to catch up with him, but being Ali Brownlee, being an absolute incredible runner, he cut down that run lead like already by 25k.
Yeah,
he was then like a minute, just under a minute and a half behind.
All of the people, it was interesting in the lead up to this. I was reading over on the Slow Twitch forum, a lot of people sort of doubting Ali Brownlee's ability to run a marathon. and obviously people don't know his background. I think if they live in America and don't know that he goes out and runs in the mountains for 3 hours every weekend, but he looked so comfortable running a marathon at 2:45 pace. He was absolutely dancing along, and he said afterwards, he got to the 30k mark and things started to get a bit sore for him, but he looked super, super good. As for Brian McChrystal, you've got to take your hat off to him. He must have felt like all his prayers had been answered when the swim got cancelled. Yeah. He's a decent swimmer. He's probably a 58-minute swimmer, I think, at best. Do you know what? I've said that, and I don't know where I've picked that number from. I think you would have expected to have a significant gap to Ali Brownlee out of the swim anyway. So for him, I think partly he went for it on the bike as the hometown hero and to try and, he is an Uber biker, but also just to try and stay warm. He set off on the run and someone texted me and said, Brian McChrystal's running with a foil blanket wrapped around him.
Oh my God. So
he was obviously absolutely freezing at the start of the run as well. So fair play to him to even get himself to the finish line. But, hats off to him. He gave it a proper go, and it's like the Rocky story, isn't it? You get one chance to take down the double Olympic champion, and he went for it. And, he didn't fold. He held strong right to the 25k mark, and he kept on running as well after that. So I think he put out a really seriously decent performance there.
I think so. So he finished second. Ali Brownlee took the win, and he also said that he would be accepting that Kona slot, which makes the World Championships this year even more exciting.
Doesn't it just?
Yeah, so that's cool. So he's going to have to fit in now. If Tokyo and the Olympics are still sort of on the agenda, he'll have to combine getting his qualification for that with Kona. So that will be...
It's an interesting headache for the selectors now, isn't it? Now that, because it's hard not to look at him in terms of the Olympics and kind of feel he's got a foot in both camps. He's got a serious interest in winning the 70.3 World Championships. He's going to Kona for the first time. Obviously, the question mark is how he's going to deal with the extreme heat and humidity out in Kona. It's not known to be his Achilles heel, isn't it? If you'll pardon the pun.
Well, Johnny has been getting training in his conservatory with heaters on.
Is that right?
So, yes, that is right. Obviously not for Kona, for Tokyo.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, he said he's going to go there to learn this year, which you think of Gomez going to learn. Some do. They say, yeah, I'm going to go and learn. And clearly, in the back of your mind, you would probably want to win, but actually, there would also be value in going and learning and then sort of going, okay, right, next time, boom, on it, I've learned.
Yeah. But we both know that's not how Ali Brownlee's going to race, don't we?
Well, no, exactly. You're going to go for the win, aren't you?
There's not a competitor out there like him. Yeah. And that is, I think it's super exciting for the sport. Everyone's been wanting this for years. And I just hope that all the big players can get themselves there injury-free and healthy. And we can see, I mean, we're going to hear from Patrick Lange later on, but imagine how excited he is now, knowing that he gets to go up against Ali Brownlee on the run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Thanks, isn't it? And then, I don't think we said yet who finished third. So I might just say Markus Tomsch of Germany came in third in the men's race. And then Marino van Hoynicke didn't finish. He was a DNF. There were also a couple of DNFs in the women's race. Ipak with a DNF.
She looked super strong, didn't she? She led the bike the whole way and she looked really, really good. But again, folded, I think, immediately that she got passed on the run, complaining of back pain. But
yeah, I read somewhere about back pain. And then Lindsay Corbin, I mean, she had gone out to Ireland super early to prepare for this. There had been, again, I think she entered it because she wanted a challenge, and she had been to Ireland in the summer and loved it so much. So that was part of the reasoning to return, just because she thought, what an amazing place. And sadly, she just got way too cold on the bike.
Well, there was an interview with her on Ironman.com during the coverage about how exactly that. She was looking for a challenge, and she said, the one thing I'm really bad at is dealing with the cold. So I've been deliberately going out and training in the cold to try and prepare for this. But imagine getting a Delta day like that when you were already not great in the cold and wet. Bless her.
Yeah, exactly. So she said, gutted to have had my third ever DNF today. I put my best effort forward to stay warm, and the Irish weather took me down. So much respect to everyone out there battling in the nastiest conditions I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then she said that all the volunteers just looked after her in T2. They gave her like donuts, hot chocolate, let her call her husband, so international calls to her husband, blankets, and she just said she was even given a new sweatsuit.
Bless her.
To try to warm up. So yeah, it was what an experience she got.
Yeah, but hats off to women's winner Emma Billam. She had an absolutely storming grace. I think she won by very nearly 30 minutes. She put together a 3:16 marathon, so those conditions clearly suited her. To win with an 8:50 with a 30-minute margin of victory. Go on, Hals, I'm going to let you try and pronounce that name.
Over Pluni Human of the Netherlands.
Nice.
Or Human. And then Amanda Wendorf of the USA was third. Emma Billam, she's such a fascinating person, really lovely person. You should go and check out some of her blogs from the past few years. She's just had a nasty couple of years with injury and sort of, I think, falling a bit out of love with the sport and things like that. So it's absolutely great to see her taking her first Ironman win. Yeah, really chuffed for her.
All right, other races that were going on this weekend then, we had wins for Holly Lawrence and Rudy von Berg at the 70.3 European Championships at Elsinore.
Yeah, it was another 70.3 win for Holly Lawrence.
She's on fire still, isn't she?
Yeah, and she's already won the regional championships in Dubai, and then in North America, St. George, and then the Asia Pacific Championship at Vietnam recently. So yeah, she is flying, Rob. Another great finish was by Fenella Langridge, who was second, just a couple of minutes behind Holly. Great result for her. I think she's absolutely over the moon with that one.
As well. She ran 1:18.47. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, nice one, Fenella. And then Radka Karlfeldt was third. In the men's race, Rudy von Berg beat Javier Gomez by 11 seconds in the end.
I know. And Gomez put together, get this, a 1:07 half marathon trying to chase him down. Now you wonder, don't you, how much von Berg kept under the hood for the sprint finish, and he knew he had a bit of a cushion. I think he'd put something like 5 minutes into, pretty much the whole field on the bike. So hats off, that's an amazing ride by him. But 1:07 to finish second, that's a heartbreaker, isn't it?
Yeah. What? Oh God! Don't even go there.
Somebody's written here, transitions matter in the comments on Facebook, and I'm looking at that. Von Berg's T2 was 1:11, and Gomez's T2 was 1:27. That's 16 seconds, isn't it?
Yeah, and T1 for Von Berg was 3:42, and T1 for Gomez was 3:58.
Wow! Look at that. Yeah. There you go. There's a lesson for everyone there. Nice work, Rudy.
Gomez does it all the time with ITU.
Yeah. Fair play.
Anyway. And then Pablo de Pena Gonzalez of Spain was third.
All right. We've also had some amazing racing out in Switzerland. This weekend was the Extreme Triathlon X-Tri Swissman, which has got something bonkers like 5,500 meters of climbing on the bike, 3 massive mountain passes. As well as a mountaintop finish on the run. Now this year, Hells, it looks like the weather was beautiful leading up to it, again just like Cork, and then race day they had a hideous storm forecast to blow in, thunderstorms blowing in during the start of the swim. So the swim was reduced to 1,000 meters instead of 3.8, and apparently the thunderstorm, the thunderstorm blew in, and the place just got leveled 30 minutes after the last swimmer got out of the water. So hats off to the organisers for, actually getting them in the water and doing that in a safe way. It's a big call, but they managed to give everybody the experience that they wanted there. And shout out here to our listener, David Irwin, who's also a Team OA member. He said, I was there as a supporter for my son at Swissman. All I'll say is it was epic and brutal. You need a supporter for the marathon, and he went and supported and ran next to his son. We completed it in 7:15 with a run-walk strategy, but with the last 10k, the wind and the rain, we finished at 11 p.m. under the wall of the Eiger.
Yeah, it goes up the you have this final climb up the Kleine Schleidig.
Wow.
And if you've ever been out to that part of the world, it is the
photos are incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, it's such an inspiring country. Yeah.
Again, hats off to Slow Twitch. They got some great photos on there. The top female was Flora College from Great Britain, and the top male was Matthias and Yush from Switzerland there.
Yeah, it's one epic race.
And last one, 70.3 Mont Tremblant. We had wins again, another win for Rinny, for Marinda Carfrey, and also a win for Jackson Laundry.
It looks sunny there, Rob, out in Canada.
It does. At least they got a little bit of nice weather somewhere, didn't they?
Exactly.
Bless. So if you've raced this weekend and the weather has given you a serious kicking, like there's all this manner of like, are you still an Ironman if you've done an Ironman race and they've cancelled the swim? Who cares about that? Who cares about the name you give yourself? If you've competed in those epic conditions and you've had the balls to front up on race day morning and stand around in the freezing cold for hours and go out and face down your demons, there's nobody on that start line who hasn't absolutely questioned 100 times whether they should even start or not. So even if you didn't get to the finish line, my hat's off to you for giving that a go. So well done. An epic day out that you'll always remember. And at the end of the day, that's what life's all about. It's not about whether you call yourself a something or not.
No, that's what I was going to say. That is, you will have learned so much about yourself doing that.
Yeah, totally. I don't think I'd have started Hells years ago. I would have done, but I don't think I'd have done if I'd woken up and looked at the conditions being like that. So fair play.
Yeah.
I think people need to realise that you've only got a certain number of those things in your tank in a lifetime, where you get yourself up to do something hideous and frightening and horrible and unpleasant and wet. And like, get them done, put them in the box of awesome things that I've done, because you never know when you might decide you don't want to do it anymore. So fair play to you.
Life lessons on a Monday morning.
Love it. Love it. All right, so we're going to go over to our amazing interview of the week, sponsored by foodcell.co.uk. Get yourself a Food Cell if you're racing long distance this year. That's all I've got to say. They are the best top tube nutritional carrier out there, in my opinion. If you're trying to race 70.3 or Ironman or long distance sportives, or even if you just want a clever way to carry stuff when you're out on your long rides, you can fit 4 massive gels. You can fit loads of food. Do you know, Hells, the other day, my mate Andy fit 2 whole packets of Jelly Babies into a Food Cell.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like, it's amazing. They just kept going in, 2 whole packets stuffed in there, which I wouldn't have believed was possible, but fair play. If he says it is, it must be.
That's good going.
Isn't it just? You can get it open and closed with one hand as you're riding along, which doesn't sound that important as you're sitting there listening. It is. But actually, when you're riding, if you've tried to get your fingers into, my old top tube nutritional carrier was a bit like Rod Hull's Emu, you know, how it used to like bite people's fingers. Not getting anything into or out of that thing as you're riding along one-handed without seriously being concerned for your health. This thing's awesome, and it's waterproof for days like this, so you don't get absolutely soaking wet nutrition if you've got flapjacks in there when you're racing Ironman Cork. So check it out over at foodcell.co.uk, and you get free delivery worldwide with the code FREEPOST. All right, Hells, you have got an absolute stonker of an exclusive, none other than 2-time Ironman World Champion Patrick Lange. Very impressive work, young lady. Love this interview.
This is where patience pays off, Rob. I first tried to get, I think I first put a request in or first started to, put the feelers out there probably in October.
Yeah,
and then
we've been chasing him for a while, haven't we? We've had a couple of nice emails back from the press office saying, I'm really sorry, Patrick's just concentrating on his training, and understandably so, but finally perseverance pays off.
Perseverance pays off. So yeah, he was very generous with his time. He's super honest, he's funny, he's very open. He was, of course,
the first guy.
Yeah, really. Yeah, yeah. He was the first athlete to go under 8 hours at Kona when he did it in 2018. And in his interview, there's so much that we talk about. We talk
Yeah.
loads of stuff.
Let's get it on. Here we go. This week's interview of the week with Patrick Lange.
Patrick Lange, hello, and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. How's it going? Espresso in hand.
Yeah, espresso in hand is always good. Thanks for having me. Looking out of my window, it's pretty rainy here. But other than that, it's all good. Healthy, quite fit, and yeah, happy.
Quite fit.
Yeah, quite fit because my highlight race is in October. So there's definitely some room for improvement. And that's good how it is, I think. So if I would be in top shape now, that would be the wrong timing.
Yeah, there would be something very, very wrong. So how was Vietnam then as your first race of the season?
It was, first and foremost, it was hot and humid. It was really, really, really hot. One of the hottest races I've ever experienced. Other than that, it was just incredible, good organizing. So the Sunrise Events team, they always put the athlete first. So it is really interesting to see that they really take good care of us pro athletes. I think with the age groupers is quite similar, but yeah, it's been good and happy to take away a win in a big race like that. It's actually the first championship 70.3 I was able to win. And I feel that I'm on the right way. Yeah.
And how was life after winning Kona for the second time?
Not much different, actually.
Really? Was it not crazy that period though between like after Kona and Christmas and when you had 11 nights in your own bed or something?
It was crazy, but comparing to the year before, it was quite the same. It was a little bit more. But in 2017, everything was new for me, and it costs me much more energy because everything was new. You were meeting so many new people, and verarbeiten. What means verarbeiten? Process this. Thank you, Julia. To process this just took me much more energy. And if I compare it to last year, it was kind of everything was new. In terms of I was the first man to have beaten 8 hours and blah blah blah. But it was kind of been there, done that, and so it was easier. But it was still a lot of traveling, a lot of sleeping in hotel beds, and a lot of hours in the flight, in a plane, and definitely, not the way you want to live as a professional athlete, because recovery took me like the double of the time. But it has good energy, so I always try to see the positive side of it and try to gain as much positiveness as possible. And there had been a lot. I mean, it's just if somebody told me 5 years before that Mark Allen would come all the way from Santa Cruz to Germany to hand over my Sportsman of the Year award, I think I would call him crazy. So that's been pretty amazing, and definitely lifetime memories I will have for my lifelong.
You've mentioned it there. So in the UK, Sports Personality of the Year, the BBC programme, like one year, Chrissy Wellington wasn't even invited to it. And so the Brownlees might, they would get invited and they might make, the final sort of top 10, the shortlist. But the chance or the likelihood of a long-distance triathlete actually winning it in the UK is like unheard of. But in Germany, that's totally different, isn't it? Like, you guys are household names. Like, it's massive.
Actually, I talked with my friend Will Clark about this, and he said the same, that a long course triathlete wouldn't be able to win this Sportsman of the Year. So yeah, it's definitely different to yours, but I think we made our name over the last 20 years, with Thomas Hellriegel winning in 1997. And with Norman and Ferris and Keen Lefrodo. So we have won the Ironman Kona, I think, in total for 8-9 times now. And I think that just helped us to build a much more attention on the sport. So that's the only thing I can say. And I know that the Olympic sports in Great Britain, they are much more seen than in Germany. So if you have a gold medal winner in Germany, when in hockey, for example, nobody knows him. But I think in the GB, that's totally different. So, But at the end of the day, football is everything here. And it's the same in your country, I guess. Everything stands on top of, everything is below.
Yeah,
football. And but it was actually also pretty interesting. I was the first guy to win the Sportsman of the Year award in an Olympic year. So that's pretty unusual. It's never happened before for a non-Olympic sportsman to win in an Olympic year. So that was pretty cool.
That is a real achievement. So when Kona is on in Germany, like, do you remember watching it when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, does the country sort of know? They all know that it's happening, and it's like everyone will kind of tune in and watch it.
It was building. It was building up. I mean, now we have TV coverage from the Erdinger evening on Thursday night, which is incredible. I mean, just think about that. 10 years ago, it was not. I mean, you may have a live stream on the internet, but it has been growing so much in the last year, especially with our last 5 victories. And but I can remember that I saw. I think the first winner I saw was Norman Stadler, and I was amazed by that to see. This pictures of the island and the heat and this brutal conditions, and it amazed me, definitely. So I was touched by that, and that may have been also a reason for me to start the sport.
That's very cool. And you used to like run a little bit with your dad, didn't you?
Yeah, when I was 12 years old, he was a marathon runner, hobby marathon runner, and I always wanted to come and join. And then someday he took me for a 12-kilometer run through the forest. And I can remember the whole loop that we did, and it was great for me. And after that, I started competing in cross-country races, cross-country running. Then I started mountain biking. So I found out that the endurance sport is just what suits me the most and where I can gain the most fun out of it. But I also tried everything in track and field, and it pretty much sucked at every discipline. So I'm not able to sprint, I'm not able to jump, I'm not able to throw anything. And the last thing they tested me in was, okay, Patrick, what's left? Let's go for 1 kilometer on the track. And I was the fastest right away. So yeah.
I'm laughing, Patrick, because that sums up my teenage years as well. I couldn't do anything other than keep going. I would be as slow as the fat person in my class.
It is not so recognized, isn't it? I mean, it's like if everyone thinks you mean for soccer, the most attention as a young boy you can draw when you can play really good soccer. And I couldn't, because I cannot sprint at all. I don't have the feeling for balls, and to draw attention from the girls by running 10 kilometers is pretty hard, yeah.
So why did it take you so long to, because you did race in the pro ranks, and you were doing triathlon from sort of 2006 was your first race as in the pro ranks, wasn't it? But why did it take so long to actually, I guess, shine and show your potential? What was happening in those 10 years?
A lot, and also a lot not relating to sport. So the year I was born, 86, had been a really strong age group, and I was starting really late to train for triathlon, and was really late starting swimming, actually. So I started swimming with 16, 17 years of age.
That's really late.
Yeah, and I had to compete against guys that swam since they had been 3 years old. So I had to keep up with them, which was simply impossible at the beginning. I had been always in the mix. On the bike, I was really good, and on the run, I was one of the fastest. But in the swim, it was hard for me to close that gap, and I slowly got there. I improved, but it was just not enough for Olympic distance racing. So I never made the national team, because I also had so many opponents in my age group category. So I had to look for a real life, if you can say it that way. So I had to go to the military. I've been there for almost 2 years, but I was not able to join the sports program of the military. So I had to go to the real full-time military thing. Was training part-time instead. I was training before and after the military service times, but from 7 to 4 I had to stay in the office. And of course I did not make huge improvements during that time. After the military service, I did not make the national team again. So I needed to study or start something else, and I started studying physiotherapy, which was also full time for 3 years. In that period of time, I was always also just able to train, 10, 15, maximum 20 hours beside that whole learning and studying. And after the studies, of course, I hadn't been a top pro because of the whole missing regeneration and training. So I needed to start working to fund my sports. What was then hobby, I guess, and I was working part-time again until 2016. That was the journey I had. So there was not much time to focus on the sport because I always had something else going on, which would take a lot of my time. And then I met Ferris, and I always had the dream to compete in an Ironman, but I never tried to go the full distance because I knew with 15 hours of training you will not be able to keep up with the other pro guys. And so I had to, every year I had to delay my dream to start. Every year I thought, okay, next year. And then I met Ferris in 2015. He became my coach, and we found out that training in the way that Ferris thinks a professional athlete should train was simply not possible. And so we searched for a sponsor to help me out to get full professional, which was not that easy, or is not that easy, because you need, for example, for the insurance, health insurance, you cannot just have nothing. So you need to have, in Germany, you go to the private insurance, health insurance, and you pay 450 euros a month just for the insurance. And I couldn't afford that. Easy. I had to pay rent, I had to pay a car, I had to pay training camps, I had to pay all my equipment from a part-time physio job. Yeah, it was pretty hard. So there was simply the financial barrier that was stopping me from becoming professional and living that dream and also racing to my full potential.
And did you ever, Patrick, think, it's just not for me, or I'm never going to get there? What's the point?
Definitely. There had been some phases. But I had this gut feeling that I need to go to this Ironman event. Because, as I said before, I was always the fastest. The longer the events took, I was riding a freaking 120 kilometer mountain bike race at the age of 15. And so I always had been really, really good when it comes down. So I always had this gut feeling, try this Ironman thing, this is the right thing for you. Then I was lucky enough to find Ferris, and after that I was also lucky enough to find a sponsor who paid 1,500 euros a month. And I thought, okay, this is maybe you go at the end of the year, maybe you have a minus on your konto.
Like your earnings, on your account.
Konto. My account, exactly. But I gave it a try, and I completely renewed my life. So I moved out of my apartment. I moved into an apartment with roommates. So like a student, I had one room. I kicked out every shit I had been carrying around with me, and I just stripped down my life to the most necessary things, and yeah, trained for it. Trained with Paris. Definitely had also a lot of life experience that I learned.
And do you think having had all that life experience and having had, having worked and chipped away for so long, that actually that does give you an advantage?
Oh yeah.
When you're, when you're in the middle of that race, you haven't just, triathlon has not been the only thing in your life for 33 years.
Yeah, definitely. So when I think back and when it gets tough, I oftentimes I have the thought in my mind that what would you do now if you're not doing that? For example, this morning in this 5K swim with no power at all, and but then you think, okay, what would you do instead? Moving around old people with their broken hips and walking in a hospital as a physio, and that gets me back pretty fast and gets. Not saying this is a bad job. I love that job, and I learned that for a reason, and I have totally respect for everyone who's doing that. But for me, I found out that's not what's really driving me, and so when I have a really downtime moment, I think back to this, and it just motivates me.
Having won Kona twice, do you yet feel that you've had the perfect race there? No.
I may had the fastest one, but because last year, I mean, to be honest, the conditions had been so fast that I personally think that it's going to be hard to beat that time in the next years. But I definitely think that there is a lot of room for improvement for me still. So every time I raced in Kona, I had great races, but I never had this perfect race. Last year there was the swim that's just where I lost a lot of time. In the year before there was the bike split where I had to deal with big problems. But so I think I can do better. I can be stronger, and I definitely think that I'm on the right way to achieve getting stronger and better.
Did Mark Allen, you mentioned Mark Allen before, did he say something to you before the race last year? What did he say?
We actually had a meeting on the flag ceremony, which takes place, I think, 5 days before the race or so. And he, with his calm and relaxed personality, came to me, and we were just talking, and it's just talking to him gave me confidence. And he said that you had won this race, and there's nothing you need to prove here, and you know how this race is won. So focus on that. Don't let you distract from all that media and all the athletes around. They were just soaking up your energy. Just focus on yourself, and you know how it's done. And I think that gave me definitely a positive spin in the right direction.
And did you think of those words when you were on the bike or on the run, or was the marriage proposal on your mind more?
Yeah, that the proposal was definitely more on my mind, but I felt just good when I saw him out on the course. It just felt good to to execute what he had told me before, and to meet him in the finish line area was great and really powerful.
And when did you first meet Mark?
Actually, when I broke his run course record.
Okay, and that was when you said to him, "Look, I'm really sorry."
Yeah, but I was so touched by that, because I also saw a YouTube video before the race where he had an interview, and he said, there are 3 people that I think that can beat my run course record. So it was kind of in the sphere to that this run course record will be broken maybe, but he did not name my name, and I was like, that's a pity. So it was so deep down inside of me, I thought I may be the one who can break it, but to be then the one and standing in front of him. I met him, I saw him the first time, and he is definitely had been, every time he had been an inspiration for me, and was a great moment. And still, it's one of the things that in the States they still talk about that, apologizing, and they really appreciated that, I think. So yeah, very good.
Nice. There were some suggestions that there was some teamwork going on the bike in Kona last year. What's your view on that?
So it hadn't been discussed in the beforehand. So why should we? Normally I swim 3 minutes faster than Andy, and I knew that, or I know that he attacked me when he was passing me. So to even catch up with him, I needed to push 450 watts for over 3 minutes, which was kind of the edge for me. So I wouldn't be able to chase 10 seconds more. So I was really lucky that he also had to slow down a little bit. And then I think it was pretty clear also for Andy that I will ride with him as soon as we hit the first group. And after we hit the first group, after I think 90 kilometers, I never saw Andy again. And so actually it helped a lot for, let's say, 50 kilometers or 60 kilometers. But it definitely had not been a team tactic, or any whatever is in the room. There is no money involved. There is no beforehand talking. That it just fell in place. And of course, I mean, we both wear the same suit, and it might look like a team time trial, but it's definitely hadn't been that way.
Is there anyone that, so from previous times or currently, that you would love to race against at Kona?
Also from previous times, definitely the 2 greats, there's Scott, Mark Allen. That would be so great to race against them in best shape. Would be so interesting to see what these guys would be able to achieve with all that new equipment that we have. So that's really interesting me. And also racing against Ferris would be so great.
Yes, that would be an interesting one.
So different from our race tactics. It would be so different, and it would really, really be cool to race against Ferris.
How do you think it would pan out? How do you think that race would go against against Faris?
I would win definitely. He is too inefficient in his runnings, or he had been too inefficient in his running. So I think I would catch him on the last 10K.
And
I just say that because he's always so negative to me.
And you've been working with a running technique coach, haven't you, for like 10 years or something?
Yes, with Wolfgang Schwein. That's been also a big piece of the puzzle, and not just for the running, also from the mental aspect. So this guy, he's 66 years old, and he's giving me so much more than just running technique, and I definitely he improved the efficiency for the run, which is one of the most important things in an Ironman. But as a friend, he's just giving me so much more.
That's really cool. Wedding, is that all sorted? What's happening with the wedding?
Yeah, it will take place in August. And yeah, after struggling a little bit to find a proper date, we are now sure that we will have the signing wedding, and then so not a big party. The party is we want to plan beforehand, so it should take place next year.
Amazing. And what, Patrick, would it mean to be the record breaker and be the first German to win 3 consecutive Kona titles, or 3 Kona titles?
So to that hashtag, be the record breaker, I'd like to say that I don't want to be seen as the record breaker. So it means be the record breaker, not I am the record breaker. So I want to say with this hashtag that everyone actually can be a record breaker, and record breaking is standing for your dreams, and to achieve your dreams and be able to achieve your dreams, and keep believing in it. And I think my history shows that it's definitely possible, also with kind of a roller coaster on the way to the success. And but back to your question, it would mean again the world to me. I mean, it's what I'm training for. It's what I live for at the moment, and it would be so cool to be the first German to win 3 titles in Kona. And the chances are not getting bigger. The more you win, the chances are getting smaller. And there are really few people that have been able to win 3 times in a row. I also know that. And it's what drives me, it's what keeps me going, what keeps me training, what keeps me racing, and definitely hope to be in Kona in a great shape to be able to achieve this.
Awesome. And finally, your fiancée Julia, she's making some massive gains herself, isn't she? So she's going to be doing her first middle distance this year, and that's having previously had to Google what a turbo trainer is. Yeah, that's right. So we met in Mallorca, and there she had her first ride in sneakers, and from that moment on, I knew that she is really talented, because she was riding 120 kilometers on a hilly course with me or with my group in sneakers for the first time she ever sat on a road bike. And
So yeah, everyone is really excited to see her taking on the first big race in Zell am See in September, and she's training. She's training with a lot of fun, which is the most important, I guess, and she enjoys it. So it's really cool for me to see, to know that, it's just fun for her, and she loves to see the improvement. Especially in the swim, she improved so much. One year ago, she couldn't crawl for 50 meters, and now she's taking on 4.5 kilometers training sets. So yeah, it's amazing to see her improving, but definitely we shouldn't put any pressure on her, and it comes definitely just from her because she wants to do that. So I'm not involved. But yeah, and just because she's then married to me, it doesn't mean that she has any advantage or something. So I think we should give her some time and then just wait and see what's coming. And I try to give my best that she enjoys what she's doing. That's the most important thing for me.
You've summed it up beautifully. Patrick, you're a star. Thank you so much. Best of luck for the rest of this season, and good luck to Julia too, and warmest wishes for your wedding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the interview.
Hells, I absolutely love the fact that even somebody, even somebody like Patrick Lange, two-time world champion, is at some point in his career considering stopping because it's just too hard to make a living doing it. Doesn't it just go to show that you don't know what's around the corner?
Oh, massively. And he had this dream for years and years and years and years, and just setback after setback. He wouldn't have been good enough to make that Olympic team, and then he didn't make the team or the sporting side of the army, so then had to go like full time there, and then still with work, and he was working, and then suddenly someone gives you a bit of an opportunity, or someone you meet someone maybe in your life, and then things can all change.
Here you go, I'm going to give you some money, I believe in you, off you go. Just goes to show, doesn't it, that you don't know. There must be a lot of people out there, even at the age group ranks, who are considering stepping up to long distance racing and don't know what it holds for them. It can be the thing that turns out that you just have the most amazing body that can keep on going for long distances. So love the fact that he's a person just like us who's having doubts as to whether he's going to continue in the sport, and it turns out, do you know what, that's the best performance the world has ever seen in Kona.
Yeah, it's ace. And I really liked towards the end there when he was talking about Julia as well, and how, and she's obviously now going to be doing it. Well, she's training as well for her first 70.3, and the fact that she had to Google what a turbo trainer was.
Yeah.
But it's little things like that, and actually watching her is reminding him of just how enjoyable it is, like when you're first starting out, and making those massive improvements as well.
It's also very interesting. I love that you asked him the question about, is there any teamwork on the bike? I love that you asked the difficult question there, because it's easy when you're in our position to like get an interview with someone and kind of be afraid to ask the difficult question maybe. But to hear him sort of honestly say, no, look, this guy tried to drop me. I was riding 400 odd watts, and if he'd gone on for 10 seconds longer, he'd dropped me. So I love that. I love the honesty of his answer. I love that he said, obviously, there was a big benefit to me of managing to stay with him, but we were not. There was no arrangement. I didn't pay him. Loved that.
Yeah. And he's obviously going to be racing this coming weekend at the European Championships in Frankfurt.
That's right. So it's a big weekend of racing, isn't it? Let's talk about Frankfurt first, because they have got a super stacked field, as well as, I mean, arguably this is the warm up for Kona, isn't it? If only we had Ali Brownlee there as well. Patrick Lange up against Jan Frodeno and Sebi Kienle. just to mention 3. Joe Skipper's in there, Ivan Rana's in there, Russell's in there. I think I saw Dylan McNeice on the start line as well. Michael Raylert's in there. So I think there's 45 male pros down on the start list.
It is a massive, massive start list. But yeah, that is, I mean, just can you imagine being Keelan Frodeno and Lange going into this? It's a home race. It's Germany. And, you know, having listened to the interview with Patrick Lange, you will now know just how massive these superstars are in Germany. And so it will be epic. It will be such a mad day with incredible crowds. And yeah, the fact that you've got like the top 3 of them all head to head, it's ace.
Yeah, we've also got Joe Skipper in there from Britain. He's in as well. So I wonder how this will play out then. Let's have a think. You've got to think Jan Frodeno to get out of the water first and be off on his own. You're then wondering whether Patrick Lange has got to swim to stay with Sebi Kienle. Probably, yeah. Has he got the swim to stay with Jan Frodeno? Maybe. You just don't know, do you?
No.
So let's say you've got Lange out of the water behind Frodeno with a gap. Kienle's coming through. Skipper's coming through. Yeah, wow. Going to be a good one to watch this.
Yeah. We're following with interest.
Yeah. Interesting times. Loving it.
Yep.
Over on the ladies' side, we've got Sarah True. Lindsay Corbin's down to race as well. So whether she will make use of her entry.
Time in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So she obviously entered that as a backup to Cork. She's already got a Kona slot though. Kimberly Morrison's racing as well. Anya Ipak is down on the start list, so she's an axe on the bike, as we saw in Cork this weekend. Yeah, interesting times.
Got some good names. And then Imogen Simmons is on there as well. We've mentioned her quite a bit. Has had many good results at 70.3. So
yeah, good stuff. Now, also coming up this weekend, we've got Ironman France. We've got Freddie Van Leerd racing Camworth. That's going to be the big race there. Now, Freddie is obviously in storming form after winning Lanzarote. And what was the 70.3 called a couple of weeks ago in France?
Les Sables d'Olonne.
Yeah, there you go. So he won that. So he's in great shape. And then Camworth's always in great shape, isn't he? So it'd be interesting to see them
always
racing.
Round the clock.
James Kanama's on the list, Igor Amarelli, Bert Yama. So, yeah, super stacked field there as well. And on the ladies' side, we've got Carrie Lester, Tina Deckers, Manon Genet, and Emma Billam as well. So,
I don't think, well, I don't.
It's one of those where,
now,
you want to go.
Qualified. Well, she's taken a Kona slot, hasn't she? So
you go, it's doubtful that she's going to be there, but then you just don't know, do you? Maybe she wants an exciting day out and she'll head down and give it a go anyway. I've long since given up saying she won't be there on things like this.
You never know. You never know. Tiny bit of other news, Rob, and then we could go back to Coach's Couch. Yeah. So Erteleu have announced a new swim run event in Malta on the 23rd and 24th of November.
Oh, it looks beautiful, doesn't it?
It looks great. Yeah. I did Google. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Loads of tiny little bays along the coast with little runs between crystal clear blue water. It looks beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No doubt. Oh, could you just imagine that time of year if it was like that?
Oh,
blue skies.
Stunning, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine blue skies at the moment, isn't it?
And then, Rob, the only other bits of news, we've got the second and third events in the Canute Kids Triathlon series. So the second one is in Wrexham on June the 30th, and then the last one is in Knutsford on July the 7th. So if you have kids and you live anywhere near Wrexham or Knutsford, get them involved.
Get them down to do it. Give it a try. Bring the little BMXs down. My kid had so much fun doing that race, Hells. I think it's hard to overstate how much fun the kids had. It's not like grown-up racing. Kids don't need a racing bike. Let's stress that. Get them down on the BMX or whatever. Get them to zoom around and have fun. It's all on grass. It was so much fun. Xander and his mates absolutely loved it, Hells. So,
and it's not like a tri-stars event either, is it?
No, it wasn't loads of kids in tri-suits, and it wasn't, although there were a couple, and like, good on them if you're getting into all of that, but just get down with your shorts and your football kit on or whatever, and just have a fun time charging around the school fields. Kids love it, and the more stuff like that we can get them doing when they're younger, the more experiences of stuff they can have at that age, the more they think they can do stuff when they're older.
Definitely. So head to canuteduathlon.com and you'll find all the details there. So yeah, Wrexham on the 30th and then Knutsford on the 7th of July.
Great stuff. All right, Coach's Couch this week.
Coach's Couch is, Rob, good question. Right, once you've completed your A race 70.3 or Ironman for the season, especially if it's kind of this time of year, so it's quite early, isn't it, in the summer?
Yeah.
What should you do for the rest of the season?
All right, so I'm getting loads of questions like this at the moment, partly from my athletes saying, please help me, tell me what I should do next, but also people saying, I really fancy doing this, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that it kind of fits in with like the idea of being an Ironman athlete or a 70.3 athlete. So what we often see at this time of year is athletes have done their A race and then they decide they want to go and do all kinds of weird and wacky events. And it's almost like they need permission to go and do it. And like, this is the point of this segment, is to say, absolutely go and make use of all of that amazing fitness that you've built by getting yourself into the shape of your life. Often people who train with us, they're in the shape of their life because they've trained for 6 to 9 months getting into peak fitness. And now it's time to have fun with that fitness. So anything is up on the table. If you want to do run races, sportifs, swim runs, late season marathons, duathlons, ultras, anything like that, get in there and enter it. And, from the Team OA point of view, we've always sort of said we're coaching people for 70.3 and Ironman. And our announcement in this section is we're kind of pivoting away from that a little bit because we're recognizing that we need plans in place for athletes who want to race any distance of any kind of event for the rest of the year. Because I was getting people sort of saying to me, like, I want to go and do this. And I was going, well, that's not really what Team OA is about. We're about 70.3 and Ironman distance racing. So we're pivoting. I've been in the background. I've been beavering my little socks off in the background here, writing training plan after training plan for duathlons, ultras, running races, sportifs, the whole deal. So I've got hundreds of them literally in the background now, ready to go. So for those of you who are listening, who are in Team OA, chat to us in the Facebook group about the plans that we've got available. And if you're sitting there listening and you're thinking, I want to go and do a marathon in November off the back of my iron distance racing, great. We've got a plan in place for you. Even if you want to race 5Ks and 10Ks and sort of focus on your run fitness, the approach that we're going to take is still going to be useful for you to try and get you to do those run events, because it's tempting to go, right, I want to do some 10Ks, so I need to do loads of really fast running, or I want to do a marathon, so I need to run every single day in the build up to the marathon. We're still going to use the time training system to coach people. We're still going to use your bike training and your swim training to build the overall fitness to get you into that shape to do your running race or whatever. Because ultimately, using the bike is really good cross training for runners because it's such a lower risk of injury. So the big message here is that if you do want to go out and do any other kind of race for the rest of the season, here's my permission, go out and do it, go and have an amazing time and do something epic that you remember, and also that we've got you covered in Team OA with a training plan for any distance. If you're interested in coaching, we've got a great offer for you. If you sign up before the end of June for an annual membership to Team OA, we're going to extend your coaching year all the way through to September of 2020. So you're going to get 2 race seasons worth of coaching for the price of 1 annual membership. All the details are over at teamoxygenaddict.com, or you can just click the link in the show notes. Hells, I want to hear about your epic experience this weekend, please.
So yeah, my triathlon season done and dusted in a weekend, Rob.
Why not do them all in one weekend, Hells? Why
exactly,
spread it out? Why not just do it all at once?
Do it all together. So the Castle Triathlon Series events, brilliant, so well organised. So we signed up for the mixed relay on Saturday. There were 4 teams from Knutsford Tri Club.
Nice.
4 members of a team. You each swim 250 metres, and then the bike was 4.2k, and then the run was 1500 metres, which really sounds like nothing, but actually when you're going completely and utterly full gas,
Yeah.
I got to the finish line, and you know when you have asthma or like sport-induced asthma, as in you're coughing loads, and you got, oh, I could not stop coughing, and then I cheered everyone on way too much, so my throat was so sore on Saturday night. But yeah, absolutely incredible fun. And if you've hit the point of sometimes kind of forgetting why you got into triathlon,
it's like, what next, isn't it? Yeah, I've done a few big races. What's next?
Yeah, or you've lost the love a little bit. I really can't recommend going and doing the mixed relay highly enough, because it's just about having fun. Yes, there's a bit of if you're doing it with a bunch of teammates and you've got a few different teams in there, clearly there's a bit of competitive fun. But it was just, everyone had a laugh, everyone had a giggle, and
you get a hard workout in as well.
You get a very hard workout in. It was quite interesting, Rob, in terms of wetsuit or no wetsuit. Most people, so there were lots of Northwest Academy youngsters doing these relays as well.
Yeah.
Who were all there.
Racing Snakes.
Like the Racing Snakes, GBR kit, all had their names on them. And then there was a few of us from Knutsford, and then a few other teams as well. And I think nearly every single one of the youngsters, none of them had a wetsuit on. I was like, right, well, I'm going off first. My tri-kit is so baggy, because I don't ever wear the Knutsford tri-kit. It's so baggy for me. I was like, there's going to be some crazy drag going on if I wear it. I was like, I know I feel the cold.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for fun. It'll be good practice for transition for tomorrow. I'm going wetsuit.
Good for you.
So I went wetsuit. And then, the bike, we went, I didn't put bike shoes on. We just did it in trainers, because you're thinking, let's reduce any transition time. And then the run, by that point, it's like, oh God, just got to get to the finish line. And then, so I had a blast on Saturday. And then Sunday went and did the gauntlet, again, back to Cholmondeley Castle. Really
so 70.3 distance.
70.3 distance, yep. And this was done, Rob, on, what can we say?
Minimal training.
Minimal training.
Lean,
yes,
lean training, let's call it.
Lean, I like that. That's a good word to describe it.
Yeah.
So I did my first brick session a week and a half before it.
Nice.
I went out on the TT bike. I think I went twice actually in the end on the TT bike.
You were a bit nervous about it, weren't you, beforehand? You were a bit nervous about whether you had the miles in on the TT bike.
Well, whether I had any miles in my legs to begin with, not just on the TT bike.
And how did it go then?
So the swim I actually really enjoyed, and I haven't done any swims longer than half an hour. So that was, again, great prep. But I did enjoy it once the battering had finished. It wasn't particularly quick or anything, but I enjoyed it. The bike, I felt more comfortable than I thought I would. And at times, it was a really good course. You do 3 loops of 33k, so it's 96 kilometers on the bike. And the roads were just really, really quiet. There were a few horses at some point, and there were a few tractors, but other than that, it was great. And at some point I did think, am I the only person here? There was like no one around. So that was good. And then the run was, I think, very challenging, quite tough. A lot of it's off-road.
Okay.
But it was a really nice course if you're up for doing a bit of off-road. Yeah, great course, great organisation. I found the whole run hard work.
You gritted your teeth and got through it, did you?
I did, absolutely. I had a lot of words with myself. Like,
yes.
Come on.
It's good. It's good to experience doing that though, on a time when you go and do an event, a bit like when I did Lakesman Half last year. You do an event that you don't feel prepared for, you have to have a word with yourself the whole way round. And in your head, you've got that voice going, that person over there is shouting at me because they think I should be faster than I'm going. People don't know the internal battle that's going on in anybody's head, do they? So It's hard enough turning up to race when you feel like you're in peak condition, when you know you're not in peak condition, and you know you're not really able to give like the best account of yourself in performance terms as you possibly could. It can be hard to even get yourself to the start line, can't it? So good on you for doing it.
Thanks. Well, yeah, there you go. That is 2019 done and dusted for triathlon, sadly. It's been a blast. I have, Rob, signed up for one already next year, though.
Really? What you signed up for?
Lakesman Half.
Nice.
Yeah, signed up. So,
well, that brings us on to beautifully next week's interview of the week. I managed to get an interview with Sam Laidlow, who is the winner of the Lakesman Full in the amazing time of 8 hours 21, who basically rocked up, did it on like his debut, did it because his dad had the slot and his dad got injured and couldn't do it. So he decided to fill in. Turns up. He lives in France now. His family moved out to France. So he turns up, stayed with one of his dad's old mates, and then goes out and wins the race in 8 hours 21, which was so ridiculously fast. You can remember when I first talked to you about it last week, I thought that the swim might have been short or something like that. I was looking at the results thinking he's 50 minutes ahead of the next competitor. So it's an amazing story. He's a super talented kid who races on the French Grand Prix circuit over sprint distance, just loves training and threw himself into just having a go at this. Here's a little teaser. Would have you imagined hearing the finish time of 8 hours 21 with a low 240s marathon? Would you have imagined that part of his taper strategy was to go and run a mountain marathon 5 days before the event? Tune in next week to hear all the gory details is probably the only way to describe it, I think. He's a really great guy.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Good stuff. Well, that pretty much wraps up our show for this week. Tune in next week. We'll have results from Ironman Frankfurt and Ironman France, and also that interview with Sam Laidlow from the Lakesman Full. And yeah, have a great time, everybody. Until next week, I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
Have a great, safe training and racing week. Thanks to our sponsors, foodsell.co.uk, precisionhydration.com and teamoxygenaddict.com. And have a great, safe training and racing week. Get out there and do something exciting next weekend, even if you feel like you're not in great shape, because it's all about getting out and doing something fun. See you all next week, everyone. Cheers now. See ya.